Hello, everyone. I am Dawn Knickerbocker again. Um, Thank you all for being here. Uh, Up next, we have a really special treat for you. We have um, Meredith Florkey, Education Specialist at Agraria, and she's going to talk to us tonight about nature-based education. Welcome, Meredith.
Thank you so much, Dawn. I'm so excited to be back in the main room again and happy to talk with all of you. I've been seeing some familiar faces and names, and so I want to say hello to all the folks out there and so excited to see and meet new people. Special shout out to our friend Sinuan, who did a great job with that video that we just got the opportunity to look at. That was the first time I got to see it. And I know she's been working very, very hard to really capture the magic of what Agraria does. And I think she did a great job. I am here to talk with you about the field of nature-based education, which is something that is growing and we've brought to Agraria. And so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Excuse me. All right, present. Here we go. And please, someone jump in case you can't see that. But on my end, it all looks all right. So I'll go ahead and get started. During this time, especially, am so grateful that my classroom is outside and is so flexible, welcoming, and there for me. And I'm sure you all, given your interest in this field, have had those experiences during the past few months as well. Nature is a constant and nature is there for us when we need it. But what is education? And I've been very fortunate to be reflecting upon that quite a bit, both at Agraria and some of the other organizations that I'm involved with. I've been in the field of education for over 20 years, most recently nature-based early childhood education for the past 6 years. And I had been searching for something for a very long time and found it here. But something that has really shown me through this conference is that many of the fields that we're talking about, whether it be from the talk about bees to Doug's talk about pollinators and different ways of thinking about our spaces, to the most recent talk about agriculture, we all have this very similar finding and understanding that a more modern or European way of looking at things has led us into a completely different direction. And now many of us are starting to find out that that might not be the best way to do something. And I would argue that education is much the same. We have our modern education system. I don't want to give you a lecture on that, but I think we can all see that there are major things that are happening within the field that are contributing to some of our society's problems. And our education system was designed to educate the masses in one standardized way. And we're coming to find out that divergent thinking, diverse people that are more localized and just a more natural way of doing things is okay, and more might not be better. So with that, nature-based education, when I say that, some people think, oh yeah, they do that at my park. Yeah, but it's actually a very unique field that is bringing us back to older ways of doing things. It is a field that combines environmental education, which is what usually happens at parks, where we're teaching you about squirrels or whatever the topic is, a very finite topic, in the hopes that people get excited about nature and love nature and want to protect it and make it a part of their life. And the intersection of a mainstream education. And what nature-based education brings together is that you can do and achieve all of those academic goals in a more natural way outside. And we'll talk more about that. It has dual goals of both the whole child, and that, when I talk about that, I mean social emotional learning, a competency, cognitive ways of thinking, problem solving, skill building, as well as learning about the environment, of course. And nature is a central and organizing theme. And so instead of, do we have to have 9-month calendar where we celebrate certain holidays? It's a celebration of what is unfolding in front of us, the seasons, and what the animals are doing. And, we start to think about the schedule of our day as a sun cycle, and what we need to do first when our energy is highest during different parts of the day. So that's very different than a bell system where you are very rigid on your schedule. Spending all or a significant time outside, I think you would have guessed that. And different nature-based programs can utilize other curriculums, but for the most part, nature-based programs utilize an emergent curriculum, meaning, yes, I know I'm going to teach these children about math and language and science, but you kind of wait for it to unfold. And you trust as a teacher in this system that it will. Yes, I know we're going to talk about rhyming words because every book on my shelf has it, and I take that out. And when we find something, I pull that book out and we just do it. It's not something that is scripted where you have to do something at the same time each year because it's September 13th and that's what you do. But there's also quite a bit of documentation so that the adult teacher part of yourself is making sure that you are addressing all of the things that your children need who are in front of you. We like to talk about teaching not only about nature, like here is a squirrel, and these are some things about squirrels, but also being in nature. To do that, you can learn about squirrels with a worksheet, I guess, inside in your concrete walls, but you'll learn so much more if you get to go outside and see them scampering about and play like them and watch the squirrel's life cycle throughout the year. And that's what we talk about when we talk about with nature, being really in tune with what is happening in your space. And a lot of people use the word place-based education, because when you're teaching in this way, you can't just pick up what's happening in this space in Agraria and plop it down into another school and expect that it works, because it's place-based. It's very unique to the children and the teacher and the environment in that space. And the environment is a third teacher. I just love this picture. I got down on my belly like that picture in Doug's presentation to take it. The child is viewed as a competent and whole individual who just hasn't been around the sun as many times as their teacher or their elder. And the child is trusted to know their body, to know what they like. And a child is not viewed as an empty container that we must fill up. The teacher is viewed as a co-learner. I learned so many things about all those children and about how they interact with what's in front of them. And each year you learn about a new type of child, and that enriches your teaching practice. Um, Many things are viewed as process instead of product. Um, we talk about that a lot with art. The process is what's the most important. The feel of paint across the paper, the practice over and over, no matter how many pieces of paper that child wants, you just give it to them. You say, what's next? What do you need? Instead of, here is a squirrel. Here are the pieces. Make it look just like this. We want 27 of them to go on our bulletin board today. So that's a difference between product and process and product in art, but also it goes into the natural art of practice and practicing skills. So I don't know if any of you, I'm sure a lot of you have children, grandchildren, have had children in your life. And probably one of the most frustrating things is trying to get out the door. We have to go. We have to put the coat on. We have to put the shoes on. We just go. And that is the product, right? And sometimes you just have to go. But a more process oriented approach would be, here are your things. What do you need help with? And you can do it, and you watch and you struggle, because that is what you're teaching. You're teaching them independence and competency and pride in the things that they can do themselves. So it's not only in art, but it's in everything that we do. Some people talk about never do for a child what they think they can do for themselves, or what they can do for themselves. Nature-based education also values deep play, and a lot of places where you can send your children, especially at the early childhood level, break up your day into segments, because it's thought that children need a schedule and need routine, which is true. But when you segment days to 15-minute chunks, children are not able to really even get to what they want to do. Imagine if your workday was broken up into 15-minute segments and you had to flip completely to a new set of rules every 15 minutes. I'm sure many of us would be very frustrated with that, especially if you had no control over it and you were being told by someone else, now it's time to switch. Now it's time to switch. So nature-based education allows for large segments of time where the children, hour minimum, where the child can play and can move things from place to place and can experiment and problem solve and try something over and over and over again. Many children spend, 15, 30 minutes just trying to figure out and looking around the playground, what am I going to do today? And also recognizing that the child is the curriculum, at that instead of artificially picking topics to teach that child and to fill their bucket, we notice, we slow down during that deep play, and we notice what they're doing and what they're trying to figure out. And then it's our job as educators to put things in their environment or ask a question in a certain way to get them to expand their thinking. Nature is a rich environment, it is the environment, but nature-based education is focused on allowing children to interact with their environment in a safe way, but then also really discriminates between a hazard versus a risk. So a hazard would be broken glass, a hazard would be a metal rod sticking out of a hill, a hazard would be an active fire that we didn't know was there, and how to deal with that. A risk is climbing a tree, is walking along the edge of the berm. A risk is running down a hill and you're going, you're too fast, but you don't say that. And when we do risk assessment, there's lots of, in my world, memes going around about stop saying be careful. Stop saying be careful. Because when you say be careful, you're telling them you can't do this. I don't trust you. And things to say instead are, how are you feeling? Does your body feel stable? I'm noticing that that tree looks slippery. Are your feet feeling okay? Do you have a good grip? And having them do a risk assessment and check, does their body feel safe? Trusting them to know their own body and their own self. And also, in a social emotional component, modeling a way of communicating. And I don't like to use the term discipline, but conflict resolution and how to talk with someone. One of my mentors, Lisa Murphy, says, it doesn't matter if your child knows how to speak 3 languages and do algebra. If they can't get their shovel back, they've got a problem. And that's what we need to be able to teach children to do. We do that through scaffolding with an innate trust in the children, and challenge children, allow them to be challenged without getting overwhelmed. And when they do get overwhelmed and frustrated, helping them name their feelings and work through that. Of course, many of these things I hope are happening in other classrooms, but it seems like I've noticed in a lot of nature-based programs that this is really an emphasis. It's so weird. I'm not getting any little noises. So I think I'm doing okay on time. We build in core routines because routine is important. Kids need to know what's coming next, especially when they're new to a space. Some of the children in early childhood are just leaving their parents for the first time. And so knowing what comes first, second, and third is very important. Using our senses is very important, and we do that all the time. As you can see, this picture is taken in February in Ohio. We use our senses all the time. But really, utilizing knowledge of those that come before us as a resource instead of, hey, you guys don't know anything, so I'm going to tell you everything there is to know about this subject. Utilizing core routines like sit spots and just learning that it's okay to be quiet and be by yourself outside. And then, creating special traditions that are unique to your own place-based education, and celebrations that are meaningful to the group. These things come up naturally. We start seeing animals changing for the winter. And so that makes us think, well, maybe, things are happening. I'm putting on more clothes. Somebody's getting salt out. What are all these shovels at the front doors? And so often, in this place in Ohio, we talk about hibernation as the seasons are changing, and those you build in kind of special celebrations where the last day of school, you're building a den and you're wearing your pajamas. Those kinds of things come up, but also these academic skills and concepts just come, especially science and math, just happen when you're outside. You count everything and you do math problems all the time. And of course, language, we're talking all of the time. And just being able, I'm going to try not to get misty, just being able to hold space for children to not have to go on Zoom calls all the time, to hold space where games and storytelling and childhood is sacred. And of course, we teach tracking, we teach respect of nature and all about the native things that are happening around us, the native plants and trees. Some survival skills, some children just adore that. They love being independent and thinking that they can survive on their own. And I would argue that some of our children can make it a pretty long time. And just the responsibility that we take of ourselves and our friends and each other and our world. There also seems to be a very, deep connection to nature and our community, and a recognition that diversity, things are better when things are different and diverse and not a monoculture, and that sense of fairness and consent. Oh my gosh, we work through consent when you're outside with kids very early on, because nobody likes to get whacked with a stick. And most nature-based teachers believe that sticks are an important communications tool. And I'm just smiling at all the memories with sticks. But we teach consent and control of your body when you talk with people that you don't like to get hit with sticks, or even better, it's not as dramatic, is snowballs. Do you want to have a snowball fight? Oh, and they sing Elsa. I don't know if anybody knows that movie, but do you want to have a snowball fight? And if someone says yes, game on. And if someone says no, you need to respect that, because nobody likes an ice snowball down the back of your jacket. Nobody likes that. But a lot of the permaculture methodology is also built into nature-based education, taking care of people, taking care of your class, making sure that everyone has their fair share, and then sharing what you have a lot of. I enjoy working in the area of nature-based education that also incorporates food, which is why I'm here at Agraria, and the land, and making sure that all of our programs are embedded, or rather, food and working on the land is embedded in all of our programming. And I love the fact that our students this fall were able to get into the market garden and harvest things, and are starting to plant things for the next season, and think about, how we nourish our own bodies, but also how we help others and give abundance that we have. And really, nature-based education is founded in the fact that deep amounts of time over and over and over are really what help us learn, more so than a one-touch program, and including families and multi-generations of people in these programs is something that many programs build in. I want to be respectful of time here, but this is a growing field. I have many resources that I wanted to pull up for you. The Natural Start Alliance is the national organization, but we also have an Ohio one as well. So I was going to pull up so you can see this map of, if you're interested in the national level and more in depth what is happening in the field, you can go to this website, and it's very exciting. All these places popping up. I think I read it's grown like 400% in the past couple of years. And then here locally, we have the Ohio Nature-Based Early Childhood Education Collaborative, which I am honored to serve in their kind of board of leaders. And you can look in your area, if you are from Ohio, and find out more about schools all over this great state. Many people doing a variety of things, but I think with that, I should probably end my talking unless anybody had questions. I'm not sure where we're at, Dawn. I got all misty and lost track.
Oh, it was lovely, Meredith. Thank you so much. I think that we'll put any questions in the chat. I think our water cooler room closes at 6. So if you want to go there, I can put a link in the chat for there as well.